Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Careers at the End of the World. I'm Jenn Walker Wall, your host, and I am back post-election, checking in and seeing how everyone is doing. It's been a rough couple weeks, and I'll be honest, sometimes it hits me in waves exactly what we're heading into in 2025. I'm glad actually that I recorded enough episodes to get us through election season and then told myself I'll see how it goes and then I'll make more content based on the outcome. And what I failed to anticipate was that the outcome would leave me so exhausted and filled with dread that it would be very hard to actually sit down and record anything. So I needed a couple weeks, and I appreciate your patience. And I'm really glad to be back today with what I hope is helpful and timely content for those of you thinking about your careers at this time. And I think a lot of mission-driven professionals are thinking about their careers at this time because there's a lot of resistance to what a lot of us are doing and the priorities and values we bring to the table in our careers and at work. And I know I've seen so many clients in the DE&I space over the last year really struggling because there's just not the kind of jobs that there used to be. And I wish I could say that I think that's going to change, but I think we can expect some shifts in terms of where the hiring happens. Now, you all know that I don't make a habit of predicting the future and the job market here. But what I did think about and what I do engage in quite regularly is thinking how can we shift to be as supportive as possible to people during this time? And that's why for the next 3 weeks, until we finish out the end of the year here, I'm going to be talking about relationships, networking, and having conversations with people. I think it's safe to say we're going to need each other for the next few years. And among the things that I've had on my to-do list is to activate or really reactivate a LinkedIn group full of Work Wonders alum, so former clients and community members and people on our email list over in a LinkedIn group. So that went to the top of my list of things to do. And what I imagine using that space for is, doing monthly check-ins, asking people what they need, who they're looking to meet, what their concerns are, what their questions are, and connecting them with other folks in the group based on asks and offers, right? So if you are listening to this and you are on our mailing list or you are a Work Wonders alum, please take a look in the show notes. If you're on the email list, then you'll see our LinkedIn group in my emails going out in December. If you're not on our email list, get on our email list so that you can access that because I'm not sharing it publicly right now. It's not open to the public. It's open to people who have worked with us, who are familiar with us, who are already a part of our newsletter community. Right now, it takes me or a member of my team to facilitate introductions from current clients to former clients and things like that. So I want you all to have direct access to each other so that you can find each other, engage with each other, support each other. I know that's what many of you have been doing for years. So if you're not actively in one of our communities or one of our clients, we'd love to keep in touch with you. You can also email me directly if you're looking for the invitation. I can send you the invitation, but keep an eye out on our weekly, almost weekly emails, because that's where I'll be putting that link in December here. I would say that probably 90% of my clients would prefer to not do this work. And it's the rare 10% that actually do it and use it and engage with people in a consistent and strategic way. It's the norm that people resist this kind of work, prefer not to do it. I think that's also why so many people in our community get jobs by applying online. We're very good at helping people not have to do this work sometimes. But the first thing I want to say is it's always been my belief that having a really strong resume and having some kind of referral or introduction or, back channel connection, those are not mutually exclusive strategies. Those are great together. They work much better when they're used together. So by no means am I downplaying the resume. I'm just offering an additional strategy to think about here. Maybe you're job searching, maybe you're exploring what's next, maybe you're thinking about making some kind of physical move to a different location. Whatever it is that's on your mind professionally, there's a very good chance that other people have insight and expertise to offer, and it would be to your benefit to have some of those conversations. The first and primary reason that people resist networking is that we put it off until we have to do it. If you wait till you need a job, till you need information, till you need an intro, then you are going to have to jump right into making an ask. What I really encourage people to do is to commit to the practice, to consider this ongoing professional development work, to consider it career maintenance, and to engage in these practices and behaviors even when you are not actively needing them, when you're not actively job searching, okay? I think that makes it so much easier to engage when you are. If you haven't been doing this work, then yeah, you're going to have to start, and you're probably going to start with some asks, right? You probably have some clear needs. And people have a really hard time entering into a process where they're asking for something. I actually think it's okay to ask for something. We're going to talk about what to ask for in just a moment, but I think a lot of times what is necessary and what drives a lot of conversations in the realm of networking is someone has a need. Someone needs a job. Someone needs an introduction. Someone needs information or perspective on working on a particular team or company. So while I think it's okay to enter into this process with some clear goals and needs of your own, I have noticed that really makes this a lot harder for people. If you're listening to this and you're a very passive job seeker, or you're not really a job seeker at all, you're just I don't know, you're just, you like the job search like I do. Think about what you can be doing now to make that future transition so much easier on yourself. I've had clients continue this work and not even need to job search in the future because someone that they met pulled them into another role or had a role created for them. So I see this as both a short-term and a long-term strategy. And yes, if you're starting networking as a part of your job search and you haven't been doing it consistently, then it's going to feel hard as you get started. The second thing is almost like a 1B, but I made it its own category here. People come to me and say, I don't want to ask someone for a job. That seems like a big thing to ask for. And typically I say, yeah, that is a big thing to ask for. So what I think would make networking a lot easier to think about and engage with is if we recalibrate our expectations and our asks, and we make them something simple and easy that people can deliver for us. So instead of asking for a job, maybe you're asking for a conversation about what it's like to work at that organization. Instead of asking for a job, we're asking for an introduction to someone who works at that organization, right? I want to really help you recalibrate your asks and expectations, because the idea that you're going to meet someone and they're going to have a job ready for you, that's beautiful. I've witnessed that, but I can tell you that's happened twice in the over 10 years I've been doing this job. So it's sort of it's like a networking Hail Mary. We don't really want to have a strategy that's just full of Hail Mary plays. We want to have something to scaffold us a little bit here. I think it's really helpful to frame a lot of asks, the primary asks, around information, experience, and expertise. And what these initial conversations allow us to do is build or rebuild connection, a relationship. Okay, so that when jobs are posted in the future, it will be easier to have a conversation about them. It'll be easier to reach out to someone you've already connected with and had a fruitful conversation with to say, wow, I actually saw this job and I plan on applying today. And if you happen to know the hiring manager, I'd love a referral or something like that, right? So I really want you to revisit what your expectations and asks are, because asking for a job is an okay ask to make, but largely of people you already know, who know you, who have a sense of what your skills and experience are. And it's not the most strategic ask. And if people don't have a job, which they're unlikely to have for you, you want to still have an opportunity to connect, to invest in the relationship itself. Whether that looks like simply catching up with an old colleague or asking for an informational interview with someone you don't know. You want to frame the ask in such a way that it's relatively easy to say yes to. Not like, hey, stranger, want to vouch for me and send my resume to your boss? That would make me uncomfortable. And some people might be fine with it, but I wouldn't necessarily want to attach my name and reputation to a stranger. So let's keep that in mind. How would this kind of message feel if you were to receive it? Those are the kind of messages we want to be sending. Things we would be able to say yes to. Another piece of resistance I often get around networking is people who simply don't see the point. I've heard a lot of things, especially in the last couple of years, like all my connections are laid off, or I've already had a whole bunch of coffee chats. No one's gotten back to me. Imagine like meeting a new person, having coffee once, and that being the end of the relationship, that being the last point of contact. I think that's okay in some circumstances, okay? But you wouldn't have any friends if that's what relationship building looked like, okay? You wouldn't have many relationships. Most relationships require multiple points of contact and require time. When people tell me they don't see the point, there's a couple of things that I'm hearing here. And one is they forget that the point is the relationship. There's always a reason to reconnect, check in, share an article, share an event, send a thank you note, send a happy holidays email to someone you've connected with. It's a mistake to think that networking means meeting someone, telling them you're looking for a job, and waiting on them to deliver on the job. That's not going to be a winning recipe for success. For folks who are in fields where there's been lots of layoffs, that could be a really good opportunity for people to be sharing roles that they're finding that they're maybe not the best fit for, but want to share with other folks. Maybe there's co-working opportunities. Maybe you can all take a look at each other's LinkedIn connections and see if there's any conversations you want to have or introductions you all can make. There isn't a whole lot of point to having one conversation with one person one time. The point is to stay connected at some level. I'll talk more about this in the weeks to come, but just a reminder that it's not much of a relationship if you have coffee once. It's not much of a relationship if you have one 20-minute informational conversation over Zoom. It's our job to be planting seeds, following up, staying engaged, sharing updates, and that sort of thing. We have to create a relationship here. I see people make a lot of attempts at cold outreach, and it's not that successful. And it will not be that successful. I hear this number a lot. I don't really see a source for it, but it actually, it seems reasonable to me, which is that out of 10 cold outreaches, one person will get back to you. It means if you want to speak to 3 to 5 people, your expectations need to be, I might have to reach out to 30 or 40 or 50 people. Now, I have some strategies for getting that number up, so come back next week for those, okay? But a lot of this, I don't see the point. When I hear that from job seekers, it tells me that you have probably misunderstood the purpose of networking. The point is the conversation, is the relationship that you develop. It's not just the outcomes. A lot of the outcomes of this work will take time. And one of the ways you can speed up that time is by having multiple touch points, is by building relationships instead of just, one and done kind of conversations. Networking is not going to be the fastest solution to your job search unless you have been doing it already. It's been part of your practice, then it works really, really well, okay? Because you've already been doing all the work. You've been managing the relationships. You've been having all these touch points. You've been building and investing into these people and conversations and relationships. So if you're doing that, then that's great. You can expect that to work reasonably well for you. Another reason that people resist networking is that they hate talking about themselves. When I hear people share this, it really sounds like talking about your work in any way that is a favorable reflection of you feels awkward, salesy, pushy, transactional. This also comes up when I'm writing resumes with people. Taking credit for work, giving yourself credit, is something a lot of people struggle with. One of the easiest ways to get better at talking about yourself, in my opinion, is to get good about writing about your work. And that's why we typically start with resumes before we move on to interviews and networking, because we will do a major overhaul about how you communicate your strengths that I think plant a very strong foundation for how you talk about them later on in other aspects of the process. Any good resume writing process is going to leave you in a better position to talk about yourself. Another thing I hear quite a bit from people, especially folks who are spending some time doing some research, some exploratory conversations, some informational interviews, is that they just don't know what to say. Now, the good news is if you are a client or a member of our community, we actually have sample informational interview questions in work words. So you can go reference that. We've done a lot of the legwork there for you. So check that out, please. But the crux of this is, what is it that you want to know? What is it that you want to learn? Do you have questions that are about an industry, an organization? Do you have questions about hiring trends and priorities? Do you have questions about transitioning into a field you're unfamiliar with? When people ask me what they should ask, I turn that question right back around. Like, what is it that you want to know about the job, about the person, about their experience? And how can we frame that in a question that is like relatively easy to answer and not some deeply personal, intimate question, but something a stranger will feel comfortable answering or a near stranger will feel comfortable answering? Brainstorm what you want to learn and then reframe that into, a handful of questions that are reasonable to ask someone you don't know, that are respectful of time constraints, and you'll be well on your way to having some more solid ground. Next week, I'm going to talk about developing your own professional ecosystem. This is something I feel really passionately about. If you can't tell, I think it's very important that we take the time to prioritize people and relationships in our career. It is part of professional development. It is part of career maintenance. It is a best practice. It will make your future job searches so much easier. But I think in the meantime, you can reflect on today's episode and figure out, which of these pain points resonate with me most strongly, and then come back, tune in next week, and we'll start to talk about some of the tactics and strategies that can help you overcome a lot of these challenges. If you would like to join our LinkedIn group of alumni and email subscribers, please make sure you're on our email list. If you're a private client not on our email list, you're welcome to email me and I'll send you an invite to the LinkedIn group. It is private. And what we'll be doing there is making sure that all our alumni have access to each other, making sure if people want to have conversations, if people, want perspective, that we are not a bottleneck in keeping our people from each other. So we want to create greater ease for our clients to connect. Even when they're not currently working with us. So please check that out. We would love to have you, and we'll probably kick that off in January. So feel free to come on over and we'll get you set up in our LinkedIn group. In the meantime, I hope you are taking tremendously good care of yourself. I hope you're hanging in there. I hope you're not watching too much news, and hopefully getting excited for a little bit of a holiday break in a few weeks. As always, you can find me on Instagram, on LinkedIn. You can hit reply to any of our Careers at the End of the World emails. I would love to hear from you. I'll see you next week.